Senior journalist Chitra Subramaniam is also joining us on the phone line. Ms. Subramaniam, how would you like to remember Mr. Khushwant Singh, 99 years of a long journey?
When I heard the news this morning, it was sort of a sense of deep loss. Mm-hmm. He lived in Khushwant Singh Park, which is a locality in New Delhi, in the heart of Delhi. And every time I would pass that house, I would think that an institution is living in there. Of course, I have been to that house several times. I knew him. We interacted socially. I did not have the chance of working with him. But to me, it's an institution that goes away today, and it's a huge institution that says goodbye.
Tell us and take us through some of the memorable interactions you've had with that legend.
Well, he always spoke what he thought, and he would tell you on your face what he thought of you, and then invite you for a drink. For example, I remember he wasn't very happy with something I had written once about, I think it was Farooq Abdullah. So he told me off, and the next instant he offered me a drink at his place. So it was impossible to not like this person. And of course, he had a column, Malice Towards All, which was delightful. You hated it, you liked it, but you read it simply because it was funny.
Ms. Subramaniam, can you just stay with me? I believe Khushwant Singh's son is also speaking. We'll just cut across to that.
बस ये अभी हुआ कोई 1-2 घंटे हुए हैं, उसी टाइम हुआ था, और मेरी बहन थी इधर और मैं भी था इधर, और फिर डॉक्टर आए थे, उन्होंने कहा तो वो तो चले गए, मगर बिल्कुल शांति के साथ गए, और आज तक बातचीत कर रहे थे, मगर थोड़ा उनका ब्रीदिंग का थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम था, मगर मन बिल्कुल ठीक था, और अखबार पढ़े थे। आज सवेरे उन्होंने अखबार भी पढ़ा था और किताबें भी पढ़ते थे, तो बिल्कुल शांत से गया।
क्या बताइए?
डॉक्टर ने कहा कि हार्ट अटैक हो गया, कमजोरी से हार्ट अटैक हो गया, और अब क्रिमेशन हो रहा है 4 बजे एट द लोधी क्रिमेशन ग्राउंड।
किसी के लिए वेट भी करना है?
नहीं, किसी के तो नहीं वेट कर रहे। नहीं।
आखिरी वक्त पे क्या कुछ बातें चल रही थी आप लोगों के?
नहीं, बस हम थोड़े बहुत पॉलिटिक्स, अब चुनाव होने लगा है और उसके बारे बात कर रहे थे, कांग्रेस, आम आदमी पार्टी, बीजेपी, कौन कौन खड़ा हो रहा है, ऐसी बातचीतें हो रही थी। वो ज़्यादा बात करते नहीं थे, मगर सुनते थे बहुत। तो लोग आते थे उनको मिलने, 7 बजे लोग आते थे मिलने। 2-3 दिन पहले वो थोड़े कमज़ोर थे तो किसी को मिले नहीं थे, मगर उसके पहले 7 बजे उनका दर्शन होता था। वो आते थे, अपनी ड्रिंक पीते थे, किसी को ऑफर करते थे ड्रिंक, और 7 से 8 बजे लोगों के साथ बातचीत होती थी। ये तो कितने साल हो गए, ये रूटीन था उनका। और 8 बजे सो जाते थे, 4 बजे उठते थे और फिर काम शुरू करते थे। उस टाइम
अखबारों के साथ ही दिन शुरू होता था?
हाँ, अखबारों के साथ।
कुछ लिख भी रहे थे क्या हाल के
मेरा ख्याल 2-3 हफ्ते पहले उन्होंने एक कॉलम लिखी थी, उसके बाद कोई कॉलम नहीं लिखी, और उनके छोटे भाई वो भी गुजर गए थे। बस कोई मेरे ख्याल 3-4 महीने हो गए। सो ही लिव्ड अ वेरी फुल लाइफ, कंटेंटेड लाइफ, and he contributed a lot to the country. He wrote about 85 books. He wrote the most definitive history of the Sikhs, 2-volume history of the Sikhs, which was updated again. He wrote some novels also, but I think his greatest contribution was as a columnist and a writer, and communicating his thoughts, his feelings to I think he was by far the most popular columnist in this country. And he wrote his column non-stop he began it, I think, in 1969 in the Illustrated Weekly, and he continued that till just a few months ago, a regularly weekly column. 2 columns. One he wrote started with the Illustrated Weekly, both syndicated column, and one was called With Malice Towards One and All, which was it wasn't full of malice, but was talking about all the people he met. It was full of very positive stories, and the other one was called This Above All, and that comes from poem he loved, This Above All, to thine own self be true. And I think he was somebody who was true to himself all his life.
कुछ ख्वाहिश बच गई थी ऐसी, कभी आपसे बातचीत में उन्होंने ऐसा कुछ कहा है कि कुछ ऐसा करना चाहते थे जो शायद अधूरा रह गया?
नहीं, वो एक तो जो करना चाहते थे और नहीं हुआ, नहीं ऐसे, आई थिंक ही अचीव्ड एवरीथिंग ही वांटेड. सब कुछ जो उन्होंने करना चाहते थे उन्होंने कर लिया.
सर कब से घर पे आए?
Very jovial person.
रंजीत,
That was Khushwant Singh's son speaking with the media. Well, the final rites will be held today at about 4 o'clock. We have senior journalist Mr. N. Ram also joining us on the phone line. I believe Ms. Chitra Subramaniam is also with us. Mr. Ram, a life well lived. Would you just encapsulate that for us? All right, we seem to have lost the line with Mr. Ram. We still have Chitra with us. Ms. Subramaniam, if you could just take us through, like you were, some of the experiences and some of the interactions with Mr. Singh.
I think what jumps out, what comes to mind right now is that, you know, he was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 1974, which he returned to the government in 1984 following the Sikh riots. I think it takes a lot of courage to do that, and you know, his work on the Sikhs and his I would read him for every day, and he took strong positions. You hated those positions, you didn't like, or you liked them, but you knew that with him it was not wishy-washy. He was very, very clear in what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I remember, he encouraged all writers, all journalists. He was very encouraging. Something we've lost today. He always spotted a writer or spotted an idea and encouraged that person. Something like a mentor, what's called mentoring, which I don't think is happening today. So yes, we've lost a great institution. And I still remember reading his columns. I mean, you know, when I had started reading, which was reading in the sense politically understanding things.
Yes.
And the weekly was an important contribution, and his malice to one and all. I mean, there was this photograph of a sketch of a Sikh sitting inside a light bulb, saying the funniest of things, you know, at a time when people wouldn't dare criticize anybody.
Yes.
So he was that kind of a person.
Mr. Subramaniam, do stay with me. I also have Mr. N. Ram, senior journalist, joining me on the phone line. Mr. Ram, a life well lived. A legend has passed away today, but he's left behind a lot of his works. And the best part of it, sir, is that the work and his entire body of work is for one and all, really. Any generation that we speak of can relate with the works of Khushwant Singh.
Well, Khushwant Singh was a literary journalist of great distinction. That's how I would regard him. Rather than a fiction writer and so on, he made some very good contributions, particularly to the history of the Sikhs, so on. Very readable, sharp, clear-headed, somebody who could communicate precisely what he wanted to say, and a man who was not afraid of, he never pulled his punches. We regarded him with great admiration and affection. He made some mistakes, support of the emergency and so on, but who's going to quarrel with that over such a long life, richly lived? He came from a very wealthy background, but made writing his career, his full-time career and passion, and I think he was never trying to impress. So on. But I also greatly appreciate the fact that as an atheist, I shared many of his views.
Mm-hmm.
His very strong opposition to obscurantism, superstition, the assaults on reason, and nobody better than Khushwant when it came to taking them on head on. But a very fine literary journalist, not as a columnist, but also in the longer form. You can call it the non-fiction novel. Rather than, far more than the fiction, it'll endure. So we had great affection for him. I heard a lot about him from his friend R.K. Narayan, whom I knew. He's a great writer. They were good friends, and there are many amusing stories Narayan would tell us about Khushwant, so on. He's written about it also. But somebody we had admiration and affection for, who lived a rich and long life, and I think at least the best part of his work will continue to be read. Nobody can claim somebody's work will be read forever, generations, is all hyperbole. But in this case, there is literary journalism of enduring value. That's what's going to be remembered for. And also his literary integrity, in the sense that he was true to, somebody said, true to himself. He didn't court popularity. Even if he was one, I think he would take the same stand. He would take that stand. He wasn't sailing with the wind all the time. And I think those are some of the qualities which
Yes.
brought him close to us.
Mr. Ram,
That's why
thank you
he's
so
got a
much.
big following.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us on the phone line and helping us remember the works and the legend Khushwant Singh. Well, that legend passed away at about 12 o'clock this afternoon, 12:15 to be precise, of a heart attack in Delhi. The last rites will be taking place in the capital itself at about 4 o'clock today. We, of course, will be bringing you the best of his books, his works, and the best moments of his life through the day today.